Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of Impact Statements, the Impact Gaming Center podcast. My name is Jake. I'll be hosting today, and along with me are two of the normal members, along with an additional one. First, we got Lincoln. What's up, Lincoln?
Not too much. Hope you're doing well.
Love it. Johnny, how are we doing?
Living the dream.
Living the dream. And coming on for the first time, everyone's favorite Impact Gaming Center member, Kevin. What's up, Kevin?
Thanks for having me.
Glad you could be here. So today we got a little bit of a, one you probably expected if you've been listening for a minute. We got the crew here. So I didn't go to Vegas. They all did though. So we're going to be talking the crew's experiences at Vegas, going to be breaking down a pretty good event that someone might have done pretty well in, and then breaking down Johnny's experiences and Lincoln's experiences. But before we get into that, we need to thank our sponsor for today's podcast, Impact Gaming Center. Impact Gaming Center is located as a short 20-minute drive outside of St. Louis City, located in the fabulous Fairview Heights. Impact is St. Louis's premier gaming store, having hundreds of singles in Magic, Pokemon, One Piece, Arcana, and Riftbound. Along with TCG supplies and singles, the shop offers a large selection of Warhammer, board games, and Legos for all of your hobby needs. Make sure you check out the shop online at impactgamingcenter.gg. If you're visiting the area and looking for something to do, make sure you check them out in person at their huge LAN center where you can play all of your favorite PC games. Finally, if you're a fan of live streaming and paper magic content, make sure you check out twitch.tv/Impact Gaming Center and Impact Gaming Center on YouTube for some awesome paper magic content. Well, without ado, let's start off with Lincoln. Lincoln, how did Vegas go for you?
Well, I will not lie to you folks. I did not have a very good showing at the regional championship. In fact, it went rather poorly for me. I got beat up. I played in a couple of LCQs with the intent of blocking for Kevin, and I lost in round 1 every time. I played in a couple side events. I never picked up more than 2 wins in those side events. And then I played in the RC and I went out at 3 and 4. So I, all in all, did not have a very strong showing, but I still had a good time.
That's the important part, is hanging out with the Magic team, all the fun aspects that come into that. You can't always win, but you came for the, what is it? We said
you got to be there for the gathering, not just the magic. Yeah.
Magic. I love that. Well, let's start off with our first successful gamer in Kevin. Kevin, what happened with you?
So over the beginning of my weekend was very, very rough. I unfortunately did not LCQ. I played in about 5 of them and just did not do well. I started off with Azorius Control like Lincoln was playing, and it just didn't feel great for me. I'd win at like one match and then just lose, and just kind of did that the whole time. And then the last 2 ones, I switched over to my Is It list, because I'm like, if I'm going to lose, I'm going to have a good time, and that's one of my favorite decks to play. And still, unfortunately, did not make the RC. I just kept going win 1, lose 1 every single time.
What is the cut for these LCQs? Is it just like single elimination?
It's single limb.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go 5-0, you get the invite for the tournament. Otherwise, you get nothing pretty much.
What's the cost of entry?
I think it was like $20, $25, somewhere around there.
Okay, so not the end of the world, but
no, not terrible.
There is a cost to it. You can spend $100 in LCQ entries, and that'd be kind of rough. So you guys both played Blue-White Control in the LCQs, and neither one of you thought it went very well.
No, Control really likes a closed meta. That way you can kind of hedge it. Like usually half your deck's good in half the matches, and sometimes you just draw the wrong half. And since Modern is very open right now, I don't think Control is in the best spot at all.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think Kevin really hit the nail on the head. These decks want to be able to have really efficient counter magic. It's just so hard to do that in a meta where anything's possible and where everything's showing up. I do think the other reason why these decks struggle so much is it is value city out there. My first 3 rounds of the RC were just Jeskai Blink, which is just value the deck. Everything does something bonus, draws you bonus cards, replaces itself in some way, and it's really bad to be playing a control deck that goes 1 for 1 with something that replaced itself already, or to remove a Teferi from the board. So initially I was preaching a bunch about how it was important to interact before the stack ever began because of that, but I just had way too hard of a time making that reality. And yeah, it just meant for a really rough deployment with this deck. It just never really felt smooth.
For these LCQs, do you have to submit your deck the day before, the night before, or right before it happens?
But the day of works usually, because
Okay.
you're going from LCQ to LCQ. That usually you just submit it online.
Did you have any thoughts of maybe switching decks? in between these LCQs?
My thought going into it was I'm going to play control for at least 3 of them because you get the variants out of the way. And then after those 3, I did switch the deck to my wizards list where it's more like a blue moon type wizards list. And I did have a little bit more success, but still couldn't get that 5-0.
Gotcha. Were there any changes in blue white control you guys would make? Anything you want to change with this? Is it just maybe, hey, maybe this just wasn't the deck for the weekend?
Hey, I tell you what, I am going to be trying out the miracles list again. But I think that for the immediate, coming off of a planeswalker heavy strategy is going to be the move. And I say that because Strict Serenade showed up in a really big way this weekend, and it made this iteration of control particularly hard to play because it was so hard to win those little counterspell fights or to resolve one of those planeswalkers. So it would be hard for me to say that I would play a different iteration of this deck, because I feel like once I change the things that were rough with this deck, it's suddenly a whole new deck. It's not as Super Friends focused.
Do you feel that were there any cards that you felt like you wish you had more of? Were you guys both on the Days Undoing package?
We were both on the Days Undoing package, but I believe Lincoln was more into the Issa Scepter than I was. I only had one, and 90% of the time I took it out because I'm just not a big fan of that card right now in the meta with Titan being so big and having 4 Besejus. And so honestly, with my change, I'd probably just take the Scepter out and replace it with something else at that point.
Gotcha. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm not a control player, more of a mid-range guy, but I
You're missing
understand
out.
the struggles of playing control in a pretty open meta where, you know, you need the sideboard cards, you need your spells to line up well, and if they don't line up well, then you're just out of luck and there's nothing you can really come back from. Because I think like once control starts losing, uh it doesn't really catch up very well.
It's very
But
hard, and unless you can lane Narset Days, it's very hard to catch up with control.
yeah, makes
One thing I really want to talk about with this deck that I liked a lot was the number of times I just cold resolved Days Undoing. I had really good luck doing this just in general, and I realized that normally sounds really bad because it ends the turn, pass it to my opponent, and that means they're kind of up. They've got mana, they get access to the cards sooner, they get the first draw step. So it generally seems really bad. But some of the games that I did end up winning, I actually had to mold a 5 on one of them. My opponent played it with 7, I was on a mold of 5, and we kind of deployed out some lands. Neither of us had really taken any significant game actions, and I just turned 3, cold resolved the Days Undoing, and caught myself up 3 cards in total. So there was just a fun thing like that that I felt is a neat little thing you can do. Yep, that's my cat walking in front of the camera. That's Hermes. But yeah, cold resolving Days Undoing, while it sounds really bad, and I think most of the times is, I found some value catching myself up in cards.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard card to evaluate, you know, wheeling yourself and your opponent and resetting the graveyards are both difficult things and generally can, you know, help your opponent out. Watching the cat is just hilarious. Cats are amazing. This is a cat friendly podcast. Everyone here has
It
cats.
is.
So let's get into the successes we had though. Kevin, I think you did pretty well in a 5K. Tell me about this 5K.
I did all right. I did manage to top 8 with the Is It list that I just mentioned. I think it ran incredibly well. I got a little lucky here and there, but I mean, it's kind of magic. You get lucky. And yeah, I'm glad I originally wasn't going to play in the 5K, but I'm like, I have nothing else to do today, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And I'm definitely glad I did it because making top 8 is pretty big achievement for a big size tournament like that.
Yeah, I agree. So we're talking about the top 8 of this 5K. There was Is It Affinity, Jeskai Blink, Boros Energy, a green-red Eldrazi aggro, Amulet Titan, a Goryo's Vengeance list, and then another Goryo's? I think it's another Goryo's list, and then you on Is It Wizards Control. So pretty diverse, you know, there's only one Titan, there's 2 reanimator lists. How did you feel about this top 8 going into this top? How do you feel about the event in general?
Going into the event, I did not feel good really at all, just because I had very poor showing the day before. But as the games went on, I realized there's a lot more aggro than I thought there would be in the 5K. And that kind of helps my deck a little bit because I'm really good into the aggro decks. But then, like you said, it's just a very diverse meta. So luckily, the spells I had kind of lined up pretty well. I think the only thing I really would change is maybe another Strict Serenade in there instead of a counterspell. But other than that, I think it was just a good time, and the deck ran really well.
Nice. I mean, it's always great to hear. We've been talking for weeks and weeks on end of how good of a spot Modern is in. And looking over, like I browsed a couple of these events before, it looks like there's not just a homogenization of certain decks at the top. Lincoln, Kevin, and Johnny, how'd you guys feel about the health of Modern over the course of the weekend and all the events you guys played?
It was interesting. I think it's almost stressful because modern's kind of hard in the sense that like you can't just the top 10 decks, but then you're gonna run into decks 11 through 25. And that happened to me a couple times, and it's just a modern's hard because it's so diverse, and you just never know what you're gonna get. It's like a box of chocolates. You just never know what you're gonna sit down across anymore.
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of times where like I'm like, where is this Jeskai Blink deck? Like that was my only win over the weekend. I was like, where is this deck? Where is Amulet Titan? Where is I would have been happy with Prowess, and that was one of my worst matchups. I didn't see it. So it's just sometimes that's just the way it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Very similar experience there. I had teched my list heavily to deal with Boros Energy, Is It Prowess, and Affinity. I was not super teched to deal with Jeskai Blink, and it was my first 3 matches, game after game after game.
That's unfortunate.
And see, even into Jeskai Blink, oddly enough, I went 2-1. I only lost one of those matches, but I just my deck wasn't streamlined for it. So I think that a lot of what this means is that it's going to open some space for brewing. There will be more room for you to run into a good matchup, and it's really going to reward proactive decks. A deck that isn't really control based or is control based in an odd way might be in a lot healthier of a place because you just get to you get to see so many more things. And with any luck, that means these other decks will be suboptimal at handling your deck. If you can really play into that by, being one of these decks a little bit lower on the list that nobody's going to tech into, that might be a good choice. I mean, seeing as how Kevin's Is It Wizards deck, if you pull up mtgdecks.net and scroll through it, you won't see it anywhere on there. Another top 8 of that 5K was playing Eldrazi Through the Breach.
Yep.
And you won't find that deck anywhere in the top 25 decks on here. So I think just being able to play one of these decks that's really proactive and values being the one to move the game forward and progress game actions is going to see a lot more success than these decks that want to kind of take their time and assemble their own little tinker pieces or respond to what your opponent's doing.
I like it.
There was a lot of people who did not know what I was doing in that 5K. They would been like, "Oh, I just thought you were on Blink," and I'm like, not even close to Blink at all.
Well, speaking of that, how about we jump into Kevin's list a little bit and take a quick overview of the deck itself. So I've got the list pulled up here on my monitor. We should all be able to see each other, right?
Sure
Okay,
can.
good. I
Yep,
love
you're
it.
good.
So, Is It Wizards, Jeskai Wizards? This is a deck that Kevin has been planning on for a while. If you guys like this type of like deck tech content, we did a deck tech with Kevin 8 months ago now.
Yeah, it's a
7
bit
months.
ago.
It's been a while, but talking about the innovations of Is It Wizard or the Wizards package index. And if you like that, please go check the video out. It's on the Impact YouTube page. We do a really good deep dive into it, but we're going to talk about a few of the card choices in this deck. Namely, so the number one that I see here that I think everyone wants to know is, how is this bird? How is Wan Shi Tong, Kevin?
Oh, Washington was probably the MVP of the whole deck. There was multiple times that I would be kind of towards the end game, and I'm like, I need to get more cards to seal this deck, or I need a threat, and I would just slam it down for 5, 6, 7 at a time, and just draw 4 cards, and have a giant flying body that is just an 8/8. And the fact that it has flash in this type of deck, where you're not trying to be proactive, you're trying to let them come to you, you're trying to counter their stuff, and then just slamming the bird at the end of their turn and just protecting it. It was definitely the MVP of this whole deck.
So we've called this a wizards list, and there are 6 creatures in the deck that aren't wizards, 4 quantum riddlers and 2 of the Washi Tongs. Was there any issues you had with like Flame of Anor not being, with your creatures not being a wizard? Did you run into that at all?
Here and there, but bringing in Washington, I did have to trim one Flame of Anor, because it can get very awkward having Flame of Anor without any wizards. But I think this was a good amount. I think 3 flames with the 10 wizards I was running, I think that was like the perfect amount.
I like it. I really think the bird's cool. I think this card plays pretty well. Did you feel like you flash it into draw cards more or more to, or sorry, you draw cards when it is no matter what, but did you flash it into do the fetch land thing to get them when they fetch, or did you more just keep in your hand and wait until you could just play it for a big amount of mana?
Most of the time I'd keep it in my hand. I don't think because they're going to usually fetch on your end step. And so if you flash it in on your turn, unless you have Flare of Denial, you're kind of tapped out and you're just letting them do what they want. And that can be very detrimental to this deck. And then if you're flashing in with Shatong with Flare of Denial backup, it's fine because you do draw a card off of it, but it's not ideal. So usually I would wait until the end game and just hold up counter spells as long as you can.
Gotcha. Do you think so? The Thundertrap Trainer Flare Denial package has been something that we've talked on and off about in this Wizards list. How did that perform?
Oh, it's fantastic. A lot of people forget Flare of Denial is actually a card because you don't see it very often. But not necessarily with Thundertrap Trainer, flashing in a Snapcaster Mage, getting value off getting something out of the graveyard, and then Flare of Denial, sacrificing it, or even using Tameo. It's not most ideal, but just attacking, getting a clue, and then Flare of Denial, Tameo, you're still replacing it. I think that's the biggest thing about Flare of Denial is you have to play creatures that replace themselves, and every single one in this list, for the most part, does it. They do it in their own ways.
I agree. So I've enjoyed these flares. I think the Flare Thundertrap Trainer package is really cool. I know you can't snap it back and sack Snapcaster Mage that way, but
Yeah.
you can, snap your Snapcaster and do something else, and then sack it to a Flare you have in hand or something like that. So I think that's a really cool package. Go ahead.
And sometimes you just kind of snap Caster Mage at the end of their turn, and then you have Flare of Denial and Flame of Anor up at all times, pretty much.
I like
you
it.
may not get that extra value, but you have both of them up, which is pretty nice to have.
And Lincoln, John, do you guys have any questions for him?
Yeah, so you guys may remember that I love me some Grixis Wizards. So I get excited when I see any kind of list like this. I really want to see them work and perform well. So the first thing that I really find interesting is you're playing 3 copies of Fire Magic. And I think that makes a lot of sense because Affinity, Boros, Prowess even, this card should perform pretty well. Did you get much use out of Fire Magic?
I did. So one thing that was with this deck is I used to run Galvanic Discharge, but I kind of cut that package to add Strict Serenaded Spell Snare. So I had to overload on kind of the board wipes, and I think Fire Magic is probably the best in this kind of deck. I get you have to pay 1 extra to Pyroclasm, but doing everything at instant speed is where you want to be. And so I think just board wiping at the end of a turn is really good. And so Fire Magic was phenomenal for me.
Stellar. And then Ragavan in the sideboard. I've got to say, I'm a big fan of that because it comes out on the draw so often that this lets you really tech to using it on the play.
Yeah, it's really good into the control matchups that just kind of sit there and you're just like, all right, I'll play Ragavan. You got to deal with it. Let's see what happens type of thing.
And if you're lucky, they've boarded out so much of their early removal when they see what you're on. So yeah, I like that plan a lot. Johnny, you have any thoughts on the list?
How about that Charmaw?
Charmaw was probably the biggest underperformer of the deck. I think I'd probably cut it, add another Soul Guide Laird and another Subtlety. But I was not 100% happy with it in this deck, especially since I have the 2 Blood Moons main.
And one other question I had is, 6 fetch lands is what I see, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So
4 Steam Vents, or 4 Skull and Tarn to Fledge Trends.
Did you ever have issues getting red mana?
Getting red by itself, no, but double red at times.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask, do you think an extra fetch would have been helpful? Maybe 1 less island, 1 more fetch.
I think it probably might have been, but I also really enjoyed having that many islands because there was a lot of times that I would Blood Moon on 3, but not necessarily have an island in hand, and it just gave me a better chance to draw the island. But I had to hurt myself to hurt my opponent more type of thing, and you just kind of take that risk at times.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I know you and I go back and forth on the Thundertrap Trainer because I know we went back and forth on it when I qualified for the Grixis Wizards. I see and when it's the 2 color list, I think Thundertrap seems more appealing. for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I can see where it can really be. Did you get to do its offspring at all?
No, I did not do that. Unfortunately, I only got it early, which is where you want it, and I never really got to see the Thunder Trap late.
We'll never
Okay,
It is
know.
that's the ideal
really
curve.
good.
Well, one thing before we jump off, I don't know how many people know this, but Kevin got his SpongeBob counterspells, the one that like the meme one counterspell. He got them. Who is it, Kevin? It is Tyler Wapple, right? Is that the
Warple, something like that.
Warple?
Yeah.
The artist of SpongeBob was there, and he got his SpongeBob's uh illustrated, drawn, signed with the jellyfish. I love the one with Patrick right here. I didn't even notice that
Yeah.
so right now, but I love that so much. I just want to
Yeah,
show that.
Most people didn't realize that these are altered. The jellyfish are not on the normal art. That's how good he did with this. And then yeah, that Patrick was just phenomenal.
That's awesome. That is that's just like such a amazing, fun little. I like card alters. I think if it's a card that you love and you know you're gonna play, and you're like, this is like more now. This is more of a Kevin card than like just a collector's piece, right? So
Yeah.
I
And it
love
makes me
this.
want to play this, like these counter spells, way more than I did before.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is absolutely awesome. I just want to shout this out. Um, I love secret layers. This is, I know that's a hot topic in the Magic, but I love secret layers. Anyways, so we're gonna jump off of the Kevin train, pop us back to the fourth, and I want to hear a little bit from Johnny. Johnny, tell me about your experience in Vegas.
Well, I didn't have to play till Saturday because I was already qualified. I actually locked in on my list for the most part, like Wednesday of that week, just so I could, just try to relax. Like when we got there, I didn't have to, not stress too much, get acclimated, and be ready to ball on Saturday. But you know, I went into the weekend, in a pretty good spirit. I felt really confident with my deck. I would still run my deck back. I would still play some Simic midrange, Simic Ritual. It felt fine. Personally, like the issues where I had, I beat myself every round. And I will say within 20 going on 24 years of playing this game competitively, this is the first event where I've literally like been like I've just literally I felt like I threw away my weekend. I thought I threw everything in the trash. Nothing. I was doing like punts that were like if you could like have a punt counter, how like sometimes on streams you'll see like, uptick your punt count. I was literally in this black hole of like, wow, I just punted again. 2 turns later. What am I doing here? I don't even belong here. Like and I was it was just getting worse, and I'd never snowballed so hard, and I was trying to stay mentally like, "It's okay," because, because 'cause I'm an athlete too, so, like, on my other hobby, so, like, I just kept being like, "Okay, there's the next round," goldfish mentality, like, just shrug it off, you got the next round, like, you could still fight, you could still grind, like, I've grinded, from I've had to make day 2s at X3 before, I was like, "Alright, we got this," and then, basically where it started to really snowball too is I have really bad ADHD. So like I had a hard time focusing for some reason that weekend too. And it cost me a round where I just didn't play my Coiling Oracle on 2 and I had a flare. And like it was a match where it's like all I had to do was just play the snake and I for some reason just said pass. And then I was like, I'm dead. I'm so dead. They landed a sire that I could have countered into a harbinger and I probably would have won game 1. And I'm not saying I would have won the match because, game 2 didn't go so well. It felt like I just kept snowballing and snowballing and snowballing. And then there was even the game I won against just Sky Blink, even though while I did kind of like win like single handedly, I also realized I made 3 other punts that luckily that like they didn't capitalize on with my sequencing and how I did things. And so I just kept getting in my head and then I played against Gorios and I threw that one away because I just didn't think about my blue spells. I sequenced wrong. Like I was just punting so hard. I probably could keep going and talk about how many more times I punted. And it was definitely probably the worst performance. And even when I would say then like when I started playing GPs, at like 18, 19, like it was just really hard. So I felt like Saturday like so defeated. I was like, I don't even know what to do. And that was tough. That was the first time I think I've ever felt that way in Magic in a long, like I think ever to be honest. And it was really disappointing because I did take a year off from the RC scene and grinding the RCQs because of mental health. And like, I could go on and on and on and talk about how much I hate this system and how much I miss Grand Prix. Because even at Grand Prix, what I loved about them so much is if you did scrub out, there were so many other events you could do. Whereas now at these cons and RCs, like I scrubbed out after the 5th round and then literally I didn't have that much time to go enter this other side event. And then the other side events I thought about doing were like capped, in a GP that you never had to worry about that. You just feel like, okay, there's at least on demands, right? That were constantly firing. So it just feels bad that like, I went there to play cards and like I couldn't even just like try something different because I brought brute scale with me. It was like, okay, I'll just go hit a side event, right? And just try to play something that I really enjoyed that summer and I couldn't do that. So I was pretty bummed. But, I did get really lucky, which I did end up getting on a wait list for a new tournament, a game I've never played before. That my teammates here were like, "You just need to do it," and I guess I kind of had a reversal of fortune of how my rest of my weekend went. But before we kind of talk about that, I just want to say like I think this is a mental hurdle that I'm still trying to evaluate. So that way, if I do continue to grind the RCs, like I need to get one on the board. So hopefully I can reevaluate and make sure I don't, make those mistakes again and try to really figure out what happened. And because like, I don't know, that was a very demoralizing RC for me.
Yeah.
But luckily my teammates were there and was like, it's fine, it'll be all right.
Yeah, Johnny, I've got a big one for you. How did you bounce back from such a tough and demoralizing experience to perform so well? I mean, you're talking about how you were snowballing all weekend, so that's tough to break out of. Then you showed up on Sunday and you performed. What changed for you?
Well, really shout out to like Paul, to be honest with you. Paul is like a really yeah, I want to say like everybody's a really good teammate, but like Paul is his niche is like to really kind of help you get grounded back. He's really good about just getting you like where you need like I've had long chats with Paul's about some struggles I've had like getting back into this game, and Paul's definitely been a big friend when you need it, right? When you want to like throw your deck against the wall, Paul's there. So really shout out to Paul. Paul, I think kind of helped me get my mental game kind of back that Saturday night. So I guess since we're kind of getting into it about Riftbound, so since a lot of our teammates are starting to dabble in Riftbound, and I've been wanting to, but so I had this plan B in case the RC didn't go well. If I got to like round 8 or 9 and was like, okay, I didn't win my winning in type thing. So I learned a Riftbound deck. Paul gave me a deck and was like, this is a U deck. You can play it. And literally as we're like boarding the flight, we got to like, notification that was like, hey, the 10K just capped. And I'm like, well, I just boarded. Oops. And then it, capped when we got off. So that's why I was even more bummed. But then I heard they put a wait list. So I went to go put myself on the wait list after I got knocked out in round 5. And I thought I wasn't going to get in because I think the wait list I saw, there was like 50 people on the wait list. So I was like, there's no point. And then literally, like, I checked my email at 8 and it was like, all right, you've been selected, register by this time. So I literally am like, Paul, I got to go back to the hotel room. I got to go grab your deck. So Paul basically, like, up until this point with Riftbound, I've only played I think I played like 2 actual matches until like that Saturday night, and I played like 2 more against Paul, and I was like, dude, I have no idea, and he was like, no, you're gonna do this, like you're doing it, and shout out to Paul, he just forced me to do it, and ended up having one of the most like fun experiences I've had in a long time. Um, yeah, I don't know if it's because like I was playing better because I was in the fear of the unknown thing, where I'm just like I don't really know what to expect. I have no expectations. I'm just here to try to like have a different mindset. And I lost my first round, and then I drew, and then I won. I rattled off 5 wins in a row. When I was still pretty live until that following round, I lost a mirror because my brain went into magic mode when they're 2 separate games. So I did a move that would have been a really good Magic the Gathering play, but it was a really terrible Riftbound play. But it was whatever, And then my last round opponent didn't show up, so I ended up 6-2-1. But I had fun. I did notice there was a lot of familiar faces from Magic there, and I also saw there's a lot of people from Lorcana that were there too. But I don't really know anything about Lorcana. I just saw a bunch of Lorcana mats, and then I had some people tell me they came from Yu-Gi-Oh, and then a lot of people came from Magic. So it's kind of cool to see that a lot of people from other card games are kind of like really jumping on the Riftbound. And for the most part, it seemed like every opponent I played was like just really happy to be there and like happy for this game, which was kind of cool to see. But I think I had a lot of fun, and I think what really helped me kind of be be successful was just probably mentality was just like, all right, let's just roll the dice every round, let's see what happens, who cares? Like kind of probably just took a lot of pressure off. So I think that probably helped a lot too. So yeah, Riftbound, that was fun. Let's do it
How
again.
Before we dive into that topic, how do you think you could prevent what you went through with Magic in the future? What do you think you could have done differently?
I have no idea. Still evaluating that, to be honest with you.
That's fair.
I put myself in the shoe so I put myself in my athlete hat a lot. For all of you that don't know, I play competitive rugby. Been playing that for, a very long time. And I almost try to some of you guys have picked up on it like when I play, but like sometimes I go into like my athlete hat where like I'm very like it doesn't seem like I'm like miserable. I'm just so dialed in that I'm just so focused in on what's going on in the game, right? It's almost like kind of cold, but that's just kind of how I am as an athlete too. So I try to, but that helps me mentally stay focused and just tune out everything. So I think maybe I just got to work on like my mental game a little bit more. And I think one other thing is when you don't play as much paper and you play mainly online, just due to like life activities, I think you miss a lot of cues in paper. Like the focus aspect, because when I'm not playing and grinding at big events all the time like I used to, hearing like literally like you know just hearing people having their conversations around me, like I was like just tuning out to that, which was crazy because I never, you know what I mean? Like there's so many distractions and it almost felt like I was getting pulled so many different directions because of like, just being at a big event again. So I think it almost feels like I was not in paper magic shape, if that makes sense. But if this event was on MTGO, I'd probably be in really good shape. So
I it it's a completely different experience. We talked about this a week or two ago about the differences of playing in paper versus online and making sure that you get that kind of sampling of both because you're right, it is a completely different experience playing online. Kevin, Lincoln, you guys got anything last for Johnny?
I'm good. I don't have anything else.
Are you liking Riftbound? You're gonna keep playing it?
You mean Riftbound? This game, my overnumbered Darius? All right, let's jump into Riftbound. I have been waiting to talk about this for a minute. Johnny, so I'm a Riftbound player. I've been playing like day one, was super into it. I played League of Legends for season 3. So I played League since like 2009. Lincoln, I know you're a League player. You're not a Riftbound player yet, but you're a League player. Kevin, I know you're a League player and a Riftbound player.
Yep, been playing
Um,
since alpha pretty much.
yeah, it's Johnny, were you ever a League player or is this your first taste into that world?
I retired League in 2015. So I'll give a little backstory. Like I said, I'm an athlete, and in college I played college rugby. And oddly, funny enough, like my team, we would do Friday nights for a game. We would have League of Legends LAN parties. So I only really wanted to play League to like hang out with my friends, and so it was kind of like a doing two things at once. I get the game and hang out with my friends. And like we started doing that over breaks. And I was the very casual league person that everybody yelled at. So like, Johnny, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like I'm just like, yo, I'm just vibing with Ramus up top.
Can't
Like
flip flame the rim ram.
yeah, like I don't want a jungle, dude. I'm just gonna go Ramus top. And they're like, all right, whatever, dude. Like, and just vibing. Then um and I was like, okay, like I was silver. I was a silver guy. I think it was the best I ever got. Wasn't everything great, but then like after college, like it's when my friends stopped playing, I just kind of stopped. And I tried again like a couple of years ago when they redid the rune system, and I was like, this is too much for me. I'm just done. I'm just gonna stay retired. So I've been retired since 2015.
Gotcha. Well, thankfully, you don't need to know anything about League of Legends to play Riftbound. The game is
Hmm.
completely by itself. It does playing the game does kind of help you know what the characters do because they are doing a very good job of being. This is how the character is in both the game, the card game, and the MOBA. So, Johnny, tell me a little bit about the Riftbound event.
Well, it was interesting. I think I would say it went as smooth as you'd expect for an event of that magnitude being its first time in the country. I think there's another 10K going on the same weekend, but it was one of the first major events here in the US. Like for example, I think we're all still learning the rules, how you're supposed to go about your turn orders and things. Just for I wouldn't appeal, and I just don't and I didn't know anything. I was learning the rules as the rounds are going, and I was just like, I think this doesn't sound right, and I wanted to appeal, and I was like, wow, okay, so everybody's just like, because like I was just going off of like basically what Kevin and Paul told me. They're like, these things happen, don't get caught up here, and I'm like, all right, mental note, got it. And one of the situations that I think Kevin was telling me about how this card works came up, and that's why I appealed. I'm like, I think Kevin says this is wrong, so I'm gonna appeal it. And I won it, and I was like really pumped that I wanted to appeal. So I was like, yeah, go Kevin. But like
Yeah, like you said, unfortunately, a lot of the judges were coming from Magic, and so they were trying to use the Magic rules for Riftbound, and that's not 100% how all of them work. And so, nothing against the refs, they were put in a very unfortunate position, being the first one. They're kind of, I don't know if they were thrown into it or if they volunteered for it, but a lot of the refs didn't know 100% of the intricacies of the rules. And luckily, we have a judge here in St. Louis that when we play, we can ask him a bunch of questions, and that helped us out a lot because we knew a lot of the rules that they may have not known the exact intricacies about them.
right. And and obviously like I was trying to be very like so for the most part, all my opponents were like wicked chill. Like we were being pretty like because they were being really chill. Like I was being chill too. Like we definitely messed up orders on things, right? But we were like, okay, hey, we're all learning together. Like this is and like and then it's just like I think it was pretty cool that like besides one round like there was some I think I was trying to get angle shot, but like whatever, like that's just happens in card games. But like a lot of times, there are times where like definitely there could have been a lot of angle shooting that could have happened, that luckily there was like an almost like an unwritten agreement that everybody was like, hey, we're just learning this game, it's all good. Like I missed like a bunch of triggers, and I had one opponent being like, hey, you get to untap those runes, and I was like, oh. And then my opponent forgot to draw a card. Like 2 turns later, I was like, hey, you're supposed to draw that card. And they're like, oh yeah, thanks. Like it was pretty cool, chill vibes. Like I know those vibes aren't going to be there, probably in the future. And I'd say next 6 months when there's more tournaments, and everybody gets to learn the game more. There's also a lot of draws.
Yeah. I
Like
think there needs to be a little bit more time on the clock.
It's what,
I,
55 minutes?
50.
Just 50.
I think personally, I think they think it'll be fine in like a year when everybody learns the cards and everybody learns the rules. I think a lot of it is too is like not people know the rules, and still people are still learning the game. Like we probably haven't figured out how we're supposed to optimally play the game yet, right? And I think once that starts evolving, I think that's gonna happen. Because like I noticed one thing too in my later rounds, my game ones took a lot less. I don't know if it's because you're just getting paired up with you know better players or whatever, or anything like that. But like my first few rounds, I was really like worried about time a lot, and I was trying to speed things up. But I think this being unfamiliar with the game still, even if you've been playing since it came out like a month ago, like that's a pretty big setting for its first go. And I'm kind of curious how they treat regionals. Like maybe the fix is make it 60-minute rounds to start, and then maybe like start like dwindling it down. But we're just we just gotta get better reps. So
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to say.
I agree. Kevin, did you play Riftbound at all this weekend?
I did, and pretty much what Johnny said. Like everybody was super chill about everything, and it was nice because a lot of my opponents at least didn't have any TCG experience at all. Like this was their first one in
Wow.
paper, and so like being able to like kind of show them like, hey, you may end up facing people who are very rude or angle shoot you. Not everybody's like that. So being kind of like that first person they play was pretty awesome in my experience, because yeah, just showing them like there are good people out there that want to expand the game and welcome the TCG just kind of as a whole.
Yeah, I will say of all the local events I've been to, very few times have I seen someone playing Riftbound. We're not just having a good time. Like, and I will say this, maybe this is just because it's set one. And there's a slew of problems with being a one set game. But I will say, man, I just have a blast playing this game. Even when I lose, I'm like, you know what? I felt like I still was in it. I feel like I had a good chance. I feel like I could play to my best. I feel like what my deck is doing is fun and unique and cool. I will say, if you haven't had a chance to play Riftbound, please give it a try. It is so fun. It's refreshing. It's close to Magic, but it's not like Magic.
So I think the best part is that all the things that like we get salty about in Magic it's like a lot of those problems are fixed in Riftbound, right? Like you don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about as many really mana issues, right? Because you get two or some or that, unless you go second, three, that three that fourth time, right? Like you get runes every turn. It's great. So you don't have to worry about that. And you also don't have to worry about like, well, I die like on turn two. Like, no, you gotta like actually slog it out for a few turns. Like there's actually like, yeah, like even if you got both battlefields locked down, you at least got like a couple turns, unless you just get time warped, I guess, double time warped, like happened to me round one. But like, you kind of like you can always fight. Like you're not really out of it until like you're dead. Like it's kind of like it's one of those games where like actually it was really interesting because of time in my last loss. I looked at the time and I saw I had 14 minutes left. So I did concede a little early and my opponent was shocked. They're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I want to make sure I have time for game 3." Because I also was like, I think they were at like 6 to my 2. And I was like, I just got like a Carthia rained, or however you say it.
Yeah, Kathleen
Yeah.
Rain.
And Kathian reigned, and I was just like, yeah, all right, we probably should just go to the next one. And we still were able to get that third game in. But, it's just like, it was crazy. Like, that's why I think, time, how long it does take for a game it's because you can always fight until like you really can't fight anymore, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things with Riftbound. Riftbound was created by a lot of Magic pros, so you get to play some really fun cards like Birthing Pod called Baited Hook. If you ever like Birthing Pod, this card is very close to it. I'm a big fan of Baited Hook. But let's talk a little. Speaking of decks, let's talk a little bit about what Johnny played for his first big tournament. I want to pop this back up. We got about let's see. We got about 10-ish minutes. We'll talk. Let's see. It's right here. Popping up. We all see it. We good?
And I just want to preface, if anyone has any questions, just comment on the YouTube or the Spotify or whatever and tag Paul. This is Paul's deck. Okay, like you just ask Paul. I just trusted him and said, "Yeah, that sounds good, dude. Let's just rock this."
Yeah.
But
So you played Kaisa. You played the boogeyman of the format. Considered the best deck. Did this play how you like? So obviously blue red. Does this play? This plays a lot like just is it does in Magic, right?
kind of, I also it also had a lot of Demir like frog vibes to it. Because
Lincoln,
you
did you hear that?
well, and I mean, depending if you have the student out, it feels like you're playing prowess. So it's just kind of a, I feel like, to me it feels like one of those like Demir tempo, because your threats are really like they're very powerful once they land. Like, like I would compare like maybe like Kaisa as like a or I probably say Darius is more like your Murktide Regent. That thing comes down and just swings all over the place, right? It just kind of clears up a bunch of things, and and then you have Watcher that just feels like a board, like your board wipe, honestly. And no, it felt good. It felt like what was crazy was like, I felt like once I was learning the deck, like it started to click in the second round when I played the mirror, and then like when I saw how Darius was used against me, when you could just like you could put it on a battlefield, and then you can like move it out, play two things, and move it to a different battlefield, and just like, or you could just attack with it, then play two things and move it out, type thing. Like I was like, this is crazy. Just use it as a battering ram. Like once I learned how to use my cards by watching other people do it, that went a long way.
Yeah, if you're unfamiliar with Riftbound, how Riftbound plays, if you ever played Hearthstone or Lorcana or Star Wars Unlimited, uh, Flesh and Blood, all of those games, Magic is very structured in its turn sequence. You do A, then B, then combat, then main phase 2, then end phase, and any of those phases are broken up their own little things. In this game, you have like your beginning phase and then your turn. So the lines you take in this game are really complex and deep, and recognizing what cards do, like what Johnny said, but Darius does a lot. This card's insane. Well, reason I play Darius, like just the legend Darius. Kevin, what did you play?
I played Kaisa also.
Okay.
Somewhat similar to this list. And yeah, like Darius is phenomenal. Kaisa was a lot of fun. And then yeah, Thousand Tail Watcher is also just a crazy card in the
Card's
game.
nuts. Card is insane.
But yeah, it was a good time. I enjoyed playing Riftbound a lot.
I love Riftbound. This game's so great. Lincoln, Mr. I want to play Riftbound. Do you have any questions about Riftbound? You have questions about us?
So I don't know that it would be fair to say I've got a bunch of questions about Riftbound necessarily. I've played it a couple times, and I won't lie, it's been kind of fun. I have to say one of the things that is most enticing is the kind of land format is not done by taking up space in your hand. It's rather an entirely separate deck, and you just flip 2 every turn unless you're on the draw. Then you get to flip 3 for your first turn, just to kind of balance out going second. So I really like that. I think as great of a game as Magic is, lands do add a big bonus to the game and how you can play and the intricacies that can exist within them. But it's also the biggest negative of the game is getting mana screwed or flooded is a really bad feeling. And that's just not an option in Riftbound. So I think it really narrows down it like makes decks so much more streamlined and effective by being able to be built entirely towards, I'm going to call them spells, but they're not all spells, right? Just cards that you can play and do stuff with. And then I think having one champion that you play with as kind of like your commander is going to be really appealing to so many Magic players that maybe aren't into Modern, but are into Commander and are familiar with that play style. Just getting to play a commander that you like is really good. Then, of course, I'm just waiting for more sets. I mean, I was really waiting for the RC to be over so that I wouldn't feel like I had to be in the tank for so long. Now I'm interested in trying it out. I'll give it a run or two. I'll see what I think. I'll try out some different champions. Jinx is my favorite champion in League of Legends. I play Jinx all the time. And then Jhin is my second favorite with the highest win rate. If they make a Jhin, I will absolutely build a Jhin deck. So I've got some great ideas, but I'm also a big League of Legends player right now. I do enjoy playing with my 5 stack as much as I can. We're shooting for diamond to the split. So yeah, it's we've got a lot of fun playing. So I, of course, am going to enjoy it. I did find the mechanics to be interesting and I loved how interactive it is. I think so many other TCGs fall short of Magic the Gathering in that way specifically, that they are just not interactive enough, but Riftbound is deeply interactive.
Yeah, I played Flesh and Blood for 5 years. I played some Lorcana. I've played a little bit of One Piece, definitely one say. I think what you said is true. Riftbound is very interactive, and that's one thing that I think Lorcana and One Piece really miss out on is how interactive those games are and how interactive this game feels. It honestly, this game feels like it took the best parts of like 4 different TCGs and said, "We're gonna make this." And as of right now, the only complaints I ever had about this game is we got 1 set. I mean, we have 1 set, like the character sets in the game, but
But we're in spoiler season, and
we're in
there's some
spoiler
fun ones
season.
out there.
There's some pretty cool cards coming out. I'm waiting for Fiddlesticks. Give me my Fid. I love Fiddle. But any last Riftbound topics, RC questions you guys have before we close it out? I'm going to pop us back to the 4s. Well, if that's all we got for today's episode, thank you all so much for watching. Kevin, thanks for coming on, being this your first episode. We really appreciate it. Next week, we're going to be getting V, who we had on 2 episodes ago, to talk about his performance and how well he did at the tournament and get a big deep dive into the RC, how he did in it. Talk about Amulet Titan, but that's, kind of here and there. But we're going to talk to him next week. So please look forward to that episode. I think it's going to be great. We're going to get a really good deep dive into it. If you guys like what you listened to today, please, please, please consider supporting the shop. If you are interested in any Magic cards, hey, Avatar just came out. Kevin has some big success with this really cool bird. If you want to pick up some Washington, some Badger Mole Cubs, that card's doing pretty good, I've heard. I think the card's like $70 now or something wild. It's doing great. Roku, right? The Avatar Roku, the Fire Lord, right, Kevin?
The Saga of Roku?
Yeah, the Saga of Roku was like the #1 card played with big and Boros sideboards. If you like any of those cards, make sure you check out impactgamingcenter.gg, pick up some of those singles there. If you like Riftbound singles, I'm pretty sure they got Riftbound singles on there too. Make sure to check out the website. And if you like live Magic content, live Riftbound content, Impact is streaming Riftbound on Thursdays, Magic on Fridays at twitch.tv/Impact Gaming Center, and watching it live or watching it on YouTube at Impact Gaming Center on YouTube. This is the crew signing out. This is Jake. Thank you so much for watching. Lincoln.
Thank you all for joining us.
Kevin.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening.
And Johnny.
Sup. See y'all later.
Thank you all. And this is the crew signing out.